Hi, Alex. Welcome to Director's Notes. Talk about the Ballad of Olive Morris.
Okay, so the Ballad of Olive Morris. Where should we start?
How did Olive Morris come to you? How did her story pique your interest?
By accident in a way, or good fortune, I guess. Call it that. I moved to Brixton in around 2016, and uh before that, I had no idea who Olive Morris was, and never heard of her. She was never on my radar. But I was at the during my period of residency in Brixton. I was having some issues with my landlord or lady at the time. Just keep it equal.
There
Uh, all about gender equality.
we go.
Um,
Even though landlords
yeah,
don't really deserve that. There we
yeah,
go.
but I was having issues with her at the time, and someone advised me that there was a place called Olive Morris House in Brixton, which dealt with people with who had housing, any sort of housing disputes or issues, and it's they're kind of like they fulfill the role of actually resolving issues. So I went down to Olive Morris House, had my talked about my issues, and eventually got that done. But while I was there, I saw a picture of this woman I saw through Olive Morris, and it was a striking picture. She was very dynamic and kind of like who's like leadership qualities and stuff. And then I read a bit about her on the wall under the picture, and it's like, oh, Olive Morris was an activist in in 1960 something to the late 70s, and she fought for housing rights and women's rights and etc. etc. So it was kind of like, oh, this is an interesting figure in history, and she's no longer with us as well. So when I went home, um, I just did a very deep dive into Google, did the internet search, and I found that there was a fair amount about her in terms of literature, in terms of like uh, written stuff on the internet. Most of it came from an organization called Remember Olive Morris Collective, which was
Yeah,
founded
I
by
came across that yesterday, so I was having a little look.
yeah. So yeah, most of that came from there, and that was like founded um by uh co-founded by one of her friends, best friend called Liz Obi, and so I looked into I was reading all this stuff about her, and I found out that she had a really like fascinating life. She founded all these movements and organizations that fought against all forms of injustice, whether it's against police brutality, anti-racism, women's rights, uh, housing, squatters' rights, the ability to actually have a roof on your head. Um, and then she did all that, from her teens up until the age of 27 when she passed away from cancer. So I thought, holy shit, that's such a cinematic story. Why have I never heard of this? Why have I never heard of this person? So I kind of did more looking around to see, okay, there must be stuff out there, must be documentaries, like hour long, 2 hour long documentaries, or a mini series somewhere, or a feature film. Nothing
Wow.
really. And for me, that was like a bit of a light bulb. It was like, what steps were lost in the telling of history that this woman's story didn't really become, something that we all know about,
Yeah.
the household name level type of thing, or something that we're taught in schools.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
um, so on the basis of that, when I was looking and I was not finding anything, um, I just thought to myself, I'm a filmmaker. Um, I'm still paying off student loans for this.
As we
Yeah,
all.
and yeah, so I was like, if someone hasn't done it by the time I feel I'm in a position to do it, I'll just myself, and that's it. It's like who decides who gets to tell what story, right?
Yeah, no, I hadn't heard about her story, and I remember Googling it because I hadn't watched the film yet. And I was like, oh yeah. And then obviously preparing for the interview and sort of looking around. And you're right. It you are struck by why isn't there more about this woman?
Mm.
Why don't we know more about her? Why is she not taught in schools? Why is her activism not celebrated? So did you find doing the festival circuit that you were introducing people to her through your film?
Yes.
Yeah.
Long story short, yes. Most, the majority of people I was talking to, I had no idea who she was, and well, what I found is that the way the film was presented, um, almost everyone who saw it was interested in going out to find out more about who she
Yeah,
was. They would they what you watch that, you'll do the thing I did when I first found out who she was, and up on the internet afterwards, or on Google, see, oh, this is who she was. This is all the stuff, because you can't. It's a kind of it's a 10 minute short, but it's a taster as well. It's kind of like a film within a film, and it kind
yeah.
of leaves you wanting more. So
And why
yeah.
why did you choose that sort of beginning piece of her life to start with? Because I mean, she had a really sadly short life,
Mm.
but she did so much. So what is it about that point that activated your interest as well?
Well, I mean, I've read a lot about her before I actually got down to writing that particular script and choosing that particular slice of her life to tell.
Mm.
But to me, I had to boil it. I had to boil it down to practicalities. Like what is, I want to inform people about who Olive Morris was and why she married. So what's taking that singular incident, and for those who may not have seen it, or the incident in question is when she was 17 years old. She stepped into uh, try and help save a Nigerian diplomat who was being very brutally arrested and assaulted falsely because he was accused of stealing his own car. Because I believe the police at the time didn't feel that a black man, whatever, in Brixton could afford a really nice Mercedes.
Yeah.
So so she stepped in. She got brutally beaten for her troubles. Got taken down to the station. Got threatened with sexual assault, and later got released, bailed out. But that story, that actually happened.
Yeah.
Um, Looked into like records, got her own kind of statement of events, and there's even sort of newspaper clippings of the diplomat talking about how he just felt, really, really sort of brutalized by the police. So yeah, going back to that, for me that incident, it, it, it it's something I felt I could if I boil that down into like 10 minutes,
Mm.
there's no way that anyone's going to miss the point of why she was an important historical figure, why she mattered, why we should be talking about her, and um, why she's an iconic figure, why she should be a more iconic figure.
Yeah.
Um, that and because that incident has everything, it has her tenacity, her bravery, her um, courageousness, her her will, her will not to be broken, you know.
That's her at 17. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think it's really poignant that you've got all these people sort of around the diplomat when he's being beaten by the police. And as much as they're, protesting and going, come on, man, he doesn't do anything, nobody does anything. And then she just looks out and she jumps right in, like without hesitation. And,
Yeah.
we need more people like that. So to tell her
Yeah.
story. Yeah.
Yeah, but that was, in all the research I've done on all of that was her personality. That she was 5 foot something. She wasn't like a physically imposing person, but
Mm.
she was never afraid to square up to anyone. If she felt something was wrong.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
And we need more stories about those kind of people. It's real life heroes, isn't it?
Yes, yes. And again, from another perspective, as a black person, as a black man in the UK, as a black person in the UK, um, we need to see our own history told.
Mm.
And it's not really been done. It is not really been done effectively. When you get you get Black History Month every year or whatever, and then it's usually a celebration of American civil black uh, icons or civil rights
Yeah.
activists. You
Yeah.
know, Martin Luther King or Malcolm X or Angela Davis or just those are internationally famous uh, figures
Mm.
um, who are celebrated in their own country. because of what they did for civil rights, the leadership they showed, that type of thing. Now, and Olive Morris was doing something very similar for her community, in the 60s and 70s, and it just got kind of like it just got lost for some reason. Like I said, she was her activism. What she did was strong enough for her to be for her to die at 27 and have a building named after her
Yeah.
in Britain. So it's not like she was a small deal in her
No,
lifetime.
no, no. That's massive.
Yeah, she was a big deal in her lifetime, but how it never spread out wider, became properly celebrated by this country's media. And don't get it twisted, media representation is how people get celebrated and how the stories come alive. Film, TV, books, all that stuff matters. Don't let anyone ever tell you it's just a movie. It ain't just a movie.
No.
I don't have time for that nonsense. People, it's not just a movie. Or it's not just because people try to tell you that they're trying to gaslight you and say this stuff doesn't matter. All that stuff matters. Representation matters. The telling of people's stories matter. And yeah, that's it for me. And she didn't get that. And that's why, kind of having to rediscover to an extent.
Yeah.
Um and uh like I said, I'm not trying to claim credit for being the only because there's Olive Morris is there are lots of people out there trying to do projects about her. Remember Olive Morris had been around for ages trying to keep her story alive. But hopefully my film plays some small part in trying to you know, keep that legacy up and actually get her to be more of a known figure because she's an inspiration.
Mm. No, absolutely. And this sort of works in as well. I was going to ask you how you feel about your BAFTA nomination, because obviously it's given you an incredible platform to make people more aware of Olive Morris, talk about her story, and put her story in front of people.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Yeah, what can you really say about a BAFTA nomination? That's not, that is, I mean, that's the highest accolade you can get in this country.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, in my industry, in our industry, um, and it's a massive honor. I'm still like, see, I'm still shaking over here. No, not really, but no,
You're
but
good. You're riding.
yeah, but I mean, it's it's a huge honor, and I'm happy. I'm happy to have that one. I didn't. It's not something that I expected. So many great short films out there made every made every year. It's especially because I did this like independently. Very I like crowdfunded the project
Yeah.
directly. I walked out to people in Brixton and just asked them if they can give to the money. And I got a bit of a grant afterwards from Lambeth when the majority of the production budget was raised that way. But for the
Okay.
most part, I did it independently. I didn't have a corporation behind me, you
Yeah.
know, and to I know some films are independent, but I'm actually independent. So I just kind of thought, yeah, it's a bit of a lottery and it's a bit of a long shot, that type of thing. So I wasn't thinking about that. So when it happened, I was like, I mean, when we got to the longest, I was like, okay, wow. And then we got the actual nomination as well. I was like, okay, you can wake me up now. This isn't a dream. But ultimately, the end goal is it's more exposure for the story of Olive Morris. It gets more um to find out about it. It does give me more of a platform to actually talk about this and actually yeah get her name out there.
Yeah.
Get her,
Amazing.
yeah.
So going back to the actual film, you bring us back to that time. You've got your costume design, you've got just the whole street, the setting. How did you work on all of the production to make it feel so authentic?
Um get a good crew.
That's a good answer.
Get a good crew, good actors. That
Yeah,
always helps.
yeah, yeah,
I don't know. I suppose other filmmakers can try to mystify it, but for me, the process of filmmaking is very like it's very linear.
yeah,
I start from my point of view. I start from the research element. In something like this, you can't really cut corners. when especially because it's a period piece. If anything, if any part of it falls down, the whole thing collapses. Because it all needs to be believable. So yeah, you know I I did a lot of like collages and mood boards and that type of thing very early on, to kind of set the scene, make me kind of like made me know maybe know what I was looking for. So
Hmm.
I'd take shots, so I'd look at various other films set in that period, not necessarily made in that period, but set in that period, and kind of like see, uh, take a little, make a mood board there, take a mood board from I don't know, from Malcolm X or Michael Mann's Ali or something like that,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
kind of like create that sort of image in my head. Obviously, then I do the research, I write the script, and then I storyboard it. The whole thing is storyboarded, and then you just look for I just start looking for the right people, sending the right crew. So that's kind of key to me. So get a great production designer. Her name's Julia Antoinette Green. Did amazing job. When I talked to her about what I was looking for, she got it instantaneously.
yeah.
You know? So I knew, okay, um, she's gonna yeah, and she's gonna, she's because I know she's quite an experienced production design as well. I know she's gonna put in the work, and it's not gonna be, it's good. And it did turn out to be quite an easy work. And then you got the hair and makeup department, which is the HOD for that was Alison Edwards. He's actually the current HOD for hair and makeup on Death in Paradise,
Oh, okay, cool.
yeah, which is a long running BBC One show
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
out in Guadeloupe. So she's currently doing that. But yeah, I was very fortunate to get her as well because she's another one at that level. So I was getting people at a high level. Again, cinematographer, his name's Shaka Ejina, young cinematographer. I'm sure he's got quite a future ahead of him. And yeah, I made sure that all the departments were kind of working together. So
Yeah.
we kind of had initial meetings where I'm telling everyone this is what we do, but all need to be staying in constant contact with each other to
Yeah.
synergize, tell you what I need. And I guess that's my
That's your
process.
role.
That's my role. That's my
Yeah.
process. And yeah, so um on that level, on the craft and production level, we were pretty
Mm.
much set. Then it came down to casting, because it doesn't matter how great a set looks, or how good the production design is, whatever. If the performances ain't there, you know what I mean. I ended up reaching out to Nikki Meadows, who's a casting director, um, a very good one, and we worked together to basically assemble what I consider to be um, the right cast for this. Now, I don't know who said it, like 90% of directing is casting. Well, I wouldn't say that, because when you have to do the stuff with the crew and all that type of thing, it's a bit more complex than that. But if you get the casting right, it's it makes your life a lot easier. So I was lucky to get that cast put together, and because this was happening because we shot it 2021, October 21, so we're still kind of in the pandemic.
COVID.
So a lot of the rehearsals, most of the rehearsals were done through Zoom. We had one, but because we also had stunts on this, we actually had to have a day put aside for rehearsing the film, and also rehearsing the stunts.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was a lot of moving parts in this one. So
How many days were you shooting for in total?
3 days, three
Okay,
days,
that's pretty
three,
quick.
pretty quick. But it's more, that it's always especially on a short. It's always the shooting days are always the smallest part. It's the
Yeah.
pre-production, post-production that takes all the time. That's like months on each side,
Yeah. So how long
months
was
of
the whole
preparation.
process then from start to end?
I wrote the script in, I think, 2019. So
Okay.
I didn't. Yeah, so I wrote the script ages, like a good 2 years at least before I filmed it. But it went through, it did the rounds. I was trying to get funding, I didn't get it. It's like
Right.
I went to like different. I went to almost all the major film funding bodies in the UK. Um, like BFI and
Yeah.
from London, BBC Films, all it went through. It did the rounds, and it was kind of like, yeah, yeah, thanks, but no thanks, kind of thing. And I was like, okay, yeah, this ain't running. So I mean, we even tried to get some finance in Ireland at some point. I had at one point we had an Irish producer but that also didn't work out. So I just by summer 2021, I said, you know what, I've got to do this somehow. So I'm just gonna crowdfund it. So I ended up uh working with a site called with a crowdfunding platform called Greenlit. Over the course of like maybe like 2 months, I I I shot a video, talking about why why we should make this film and people should support it, etc., etc. I got all the materials I had, all the people I'd attached at that point in time to the project. There's a cinematographer, production designer, um, 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 mostly crew at the time.
Yeah.
Cast came a bit later, and even a lot of that crew, didn't actually end up being the final crew because these things change. You end up,
Then people are busy, they've got other
yeah,
projects.
exactly. They
Yeah.
end up getting an offer that they're going to get for something else, the bigger thing that they're going to get paid more money for.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
your project has to go by
The
the
tricky part
wayside.
of the industry as well. It's just, well,
Yeah,
it's like you said, everything's moving all the time.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, but regardless, yeah, I put together a really strong page and
Mm.
a really strong collection of people attached to the project.
Yeah.
Um, and for me, that was like, okay, that's the key. I can use this. So I went out. I actually uh, just decided to take a month out specifically just to go on the ground in Brixton, to wake up every day, treat it like a job, walk
Yeah.
around, walk around houses every day, knock on doors, almost like a 9 to 5, and ask people if they can like give me money for the film.
And what were
And it
people's
was like,
reactions just doing that?
well, most people were generally like are quite pleasant, and they were receptive to hearing about Olive Morris. Funny enough, even a lot of people within Brixton, they knew the name because they knew the building and stuff, but her story, the story of who she was, her activism, why she like the fact that she was a bit of a radical was almost lost on a lot of them. They just knew her as a name. Oh, that building, Olive
Yeah, yeah,
Morris.
yeah. So they
Yeah.
must know
So
she's someone significant.
yes, yes, but again, her story has not been taught properly, even within her community.
Yeah.
So that's how far gone things have been. But yeah, I was talking to people, and a lot of people were like, oh, I'm talking. But the thing is, I came to them, I was able to show, come to them with with an Android or a pad and say, hey, this is the page you can go on to give money, and we have rewards, like 20 quid can you can get your name on the film at the film. If you saw the end credits of this, there's a lot of names on it, and that's just people giving me money and me saying, yeah, for that I'll put your name at the end of it,
That's
and it's
amazing.
like, yeah,
That's proper sort of grassroots indie filmmaking. That
yeah,
is you've got a project, you love it, it's got legs, and I think everything that's happened with it since has proven to you that you were right. And you got it done.
thank you. It just reached the point that was the only I think that was the only realistic. Well, for me, it was realistic. Maybe for others it might not be, but that was the only way I could get it done. But yeah, I kind of doing it that way. I ended up raising 15K. And the thing is, because people started to see me every day doing that, talking to people. Eventually, I was running into people who like worked in the local uh, uh, newspapers.
Yeah.
As the time limit to raise all the money was running down, um, they put out a big article saying that I've been talking to people in Brixton for however many weeks and trying to get them, and we're like, we got he's like 2.5 grand or 3 grand left of his target. So please, everyone, da, da, da. So it was like a real big community thing. Money started coming in much quicker, even quicker when the local Brixton newspaper
Yeah.
kind of publicized what I was doing at the time.
That's great.
Oh yeah. So like I just, it was great because this is literally a project where, it actually it's had supporters for a long time. and well, since since I started doing it this way, and so I'm always like sending up emails to them and actually keeping them updated. Obviously, sending them stuff that that as part of the rules and stuff.
Yeah,
And yeah, but that's part of my role as a producer anyway. So
exactly. You've got to wear lots of different hats.
mm.
Talking about your different hats, I enjoyed your cameo role in the film.
Yeah.
Why did you decide you wanted to be in it?
Well, for a start, I mean, I'm pretty cheap, so I can hire myself. You know what I mean? It's like what I pay
But
for.
yeah, he's available. I think
Yeah,
he's free on those dates. He's a good
yeah,
price.
yeah. I mean, I listen. I'm among my other hats. I'm a professional actor. So
Yeah.
uh, uh it's it's it wasn't like I mean, obviously I wasn't I prefer to cast based on who I think is going to be best for a particular role. So at one point I was considering maybe I could play the diplomat, the role that Jonathan Yati played, which is Clement
Mm.
Gomwhat, diplomat. So I was considering, I considered that, but I thought, you know what, yeah, he'll be better. I think he's got a better look. He's got it will just he's got there's a particular gravitas that comes with Jonathan. That I thought that's
He's
is,
very
is
distinguished, I think, as well.
yes,
The way he
yes,
holds himself and his demeanor and everything. Yeah, he's definitely got that about him.
yes, yes. So I was like, okay, that's out for me. I'm not going to do that.
Not
I
saying
found
you're not distinguished.
yeah. No, no, not quite. But yeah, maybe I'll get there. Give me a few years. But but yeah. So, but when at the part at the end, I just realized, I can do that one. It's not too taxing. Um, uh, yeah. So yeah, just did that again because I'm an actor, and if there's a part up there that I think I can do, more than likely I'll do it.
Yeah, why not? All right, so my last question for you. This is the big one. The pressure is on now. What are you working on next?
Well, I'm actually developing. I'm looking to develop Olive Morris into a feature. The Ballad of Olive
Yeah.
Morris. I've been talks with like several like sort of companies like in terms of the money people, the people who can
Yeah, yeah.
actually the people who can actually make that a rally, so I don't have to go out there and like and knock
Your
on
door
doors.
to door knocking,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, so I'm in talks for that, but I'm also doing someone else's story.
Okay.
Um, and this is something I kind of have to keep under wraps to an extent because I haven't really got the permission of that person to like start,
That's all
telling
right. I
everyone.
don't need full
But
details.
it's a yeah, but it's a real story, and it's British history as well. It's expansive. It expands a longer time period of time, and it's a feature. So that's where I'm trying to head next.
Exciting.
Mm.
Literally the world is your oyster now. You're off.
Hey, it's better than a stick in the eye.
So true. Well, Alex, look, thank you so much.
No worries, no worries. It's my pleasure. My pleasure.